G-Man, Breeze, Tracy, Peter Hyman, Geo Cook, Ariel Grind, and Baby Helios. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you next week right here on Dee Dee's Weekend Kickback.
WLGC HD2, W2NHCS, Rochester's home for hip hop and R&B. Hold it down, man. The Beat 105.5.
You already know, man. It's Deion Dawkins, and you listening to the Real Deal Sports Show on the Beat 105.5.
Yes, you are. 105.5. Welcome to Real Deal Sports Show. Another week. Boy, the weeks just go so fast. Last week of the NFL preseason takes place, started last night, continues through today and tomorrow. It's going to be some good football action. The Buffalo Bills, if you're heading out there, get out there. You're going to be seeing second and third stringers play today. I'm going to give you a list later in the show of guys to watch out for in today's game that could make the Buffalo Bills team or should make the Buffalo Bills team after today's contest. They'll be playing today at 1 p.m. at Highmark Stadium, Carolina Panthers at the Buffalo Bills. Should be a good contest. Get ready to watch the action and enjoy the Buffalo Bills contest coming up. First things first, Brian Flores. As we get into the Brian Flores controversy, you listen to the Real Deal Sports Show, broadcasting live from the Rock Palm Broker Studio. Get over there and see Sammy and the crew for Deal or No Deal. Hey, make a deal with Sammy and the whole crew over there. Hey, it's up to you. Deal or no deal. Rock Palm Brokers over there on State Street. Stop through and check them out. Check out what they have going on, because we broadcast live from the Rock Palm Brokers studio each and every Saturday morning here on the Real Deal Sports Show. And it's at 559 State Street. Stop through 559 State Street, 585-262-9920. Check them out. And now we move into the Brian Flores controversy. What a controversy we have. But hey, there's a lot of inner linings to this controversy. Why did all of a sudden we have Tua Tagovailoa after he gets his bag? I guess he's a little confident now after he gets his bag of money down there in Fort Lauderdale, Miami Gardens area. When he got that bag, now he can talk about Brian Flores and say what the hell he went through playing for Brian Flores, and that Brian Flores really didn't like him. And as the story goes, the owner wanted Tua, but Brian Flores wanted Herbert, the quarterback that was drafted by the Chargers when they went into the draft. So the head coach, Brian Flores, must have felt disrespected that the owner didn't want to take his football knowledge and go with a guy that he thought was a true winning quarterback, and Herbert over there with the LA Chargers. Instead, they drafted Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama, which is also a good choice. And he said, you got to work with him. That's where, to me, the unprofessionalism comes in. If it's true what allegedly is being stated by Tua, that he did not get treated well by Brian Flores, you're the head coach of the football team. Okay, you don't like it that the owner chose another quarterback instead of the quarterback that you wanted to go with on your football team? Well, hey, you should have been able to coach him up. Instead, he coached them down. He did the Bill Belichick thing. And you notice all these Bill Belichick guys, Josh McDaniels, the guy, the clown with the toothpick in his ear, or the pencil in his ear that went over to Detroit. These guys got the same MO. They don't get along with the players. They're very arrogant. They talk a lot of talk. They're not Bill Belichick. And you don't have Tom Brady as your quarterback. And you don't have, you do have good defensive skills. You're an excellent defensive coordinator. Brian Flores is. Petula, whatever the guy with the pencil in his ear, they're good defensive guys. But you got to be able to handle the offense, hand it over to somebody that knows the offense, but you can't just get on the quarterback and play head games with your quarterback and mess that quarterback up. And that's probably why we saw Tua not playing his best until he got with Mike McDaniels. They did the right thing, firing Brian Flores, bringing in Mike McDaniels. That's my opinion. But keep in mind, Brian Flores has a lawsuit out against the National Football League for racial discrimination, how he was treated there in Miami, said that they wanted him to lose football games. So I don't know. It gets a little dicey there. But Brian Flores, remember, his claims are that they were trying to lose football games on purpose. the things they were asking him to do there in Miami. So it gets really dicey there in Fort Lauderdale. It really does, because the Miami Dolphin organization, they made the change, but you also, Brian Flores, if it's true, if you treated the man like that, that's wrong how you treat him. But but then maybe he was treating Tua the way the organization was treating him. So it seems like it was a bad situation there behind the scenes in Miami Gardens. And just a quick story on that. When we covered the game, myself and the Mighty Oba, when we covered a couple of those games down there in Fort Lauderdale, one of the security guys that handles some things, security for the Dolphins, happened to be sitting at our table, and we were having breakfast there. We were having our pregame meal before the game started early in the morning, about 10:30, 11 a.m. We're there sitting there in the press box lounge talking with the Miami Dolphins security guy. And I just said, wow, it must be nice having Brian Flores is here coaching and bringing his team up, because at the time, the Dolphins were playing very well. Their defensively was playing good football. They were doing their thing. And then you wonder, and then the security guy just tore his face up. I looked, I said, man, what's wrong? He said, that guy's a first-class a-hole. I said, really? I said, wait a minute. He said, yeah, man. He said, he treats people around here like garbage, man. He talks to you in an inferior manner and the whole thing. And this guy just went on with a laundry list of what Brian Flores, how he conducted himself in the building there in Miami. We reported on it back at the time, but it all kind of comes back. You say, wow, this guy really was. That's what the security guy. We like I said here on Real Deal Sports Show. We're not talking about what we heard. We're talking about what we know. And what I know is what that security guard said about Brian Flores. He said Brian Flores was a first-class a-hole because he talked to him. He said he went down there to talk to him about something. And he said, Brian Flores, this is a word for word what the security guard said. He said, don't step on my football field until I summon you. Don't come on the field until I make you aware, and then you come on the field after I beckon you to come on the field. You don't come on the field and just walk out here. And this is during practice. This is on a practice field, y'all. He had information that they asked him to relay to Brian Flores, according to the story that the security guard was giving us. So, hey, hearing from what that security guard said, me and the Mighty Oba was shaking our heads. Said, "Wow, man, he talking like that, talking down to people, very disrespectful to people there." And that's what the security guard that we had breakfast with there in the Miami Dolphins lounge was telling us about Brian Flores. So, hey, from that point on, I was like, "Wow, these guys." It's something about these New England guys. Josh McDaniels got accused of the same thing in the 2 stops that he made. Pat Patricia, same thing in Detroit. You guys aren't Bill Belichick. You can't just be nasty to people and talk to people any old kind of way and think you're gonna get over and win with that franchise. So Brian Flores, he came out with a heartfelt, really an apology, kind of apology. So it kind of led you to believe that, yeah, he's that first-class a-hole, all right. That's how he was acting down there in Miami. If you read between the lines of what he was saying during his press conference after practice with the Minnesota Vikings. He's the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings currently. And the way he talked, I think he learned a lesson. But, man, how you going to get another NFL job acting like that? And I see J-GILLZ is on board with us. J-GILLZ, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Radney. You already know I had to
jump boys, man. I'm talking about your boys, man.
Hey, I had to jump in on this conversation real quick. We talking about Brian Flores and Radney. You're talking about these Bill Belichick disciples. You're talking about, like you said, Josh McDaniel, Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia. These guys are the guys that are trying to be like Bill Belichick. And, of course, Brian Flores is in that category, but it's only one small difference, right, man? Brian Flores is also a black man, if you hadn't noticed. Any black man trying to act like that is definitely going to get the short end of the stick when you're talking about favoritism with the players and with the media. So when you talk about a guy like Brian Flores, I had the opportunity to watch his career as a head coach with the Miami Dolphins. He was a great coach. He was a hard-nosed coach. He got the job done. He was stubborn from the start. Anytime a owner wants you to tank, anytime an owner is willing to pay you to lose games, he always put the integrity of the game first. So we have to give him credit right there. But even from the start, Stephen Ross wanted him to lose games. Brian Flores said, no, we're not going to lose games. He was stubborn. He was hard-nosed. He felt those 52 men on that roster, those guys on that team were his guys. You know, you got the owners, you got the GMs, but when it came to the teams and the players, he had a lot of ownership on them, and he coached them hard. And he coached them, right, man, to back-to-back playoffs, not playoffs, but back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since 2000. So we're talking about Brian Flores. He's a heck of a coach. He's a dang good coach. But absolutely, he was an a-hole. Absolutely, he was one of those guys that was no nonsense. And unfortunately, when you're a black man trying to be like Bill Belichick, it ain't going to work out for you at the end of the day. Thank God for the black man named Mike Tomlin who saved his NFL coaching career, giving him a job as a linebackers coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then ultimately him getting another opportunity as defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. But Tua basically just sank the Brian Flores ship if he ever thinks he's going to get a head coaching job in the National Football League again. Not to mention pending allegations. He's suing the NFL right now, and that's that contract is still going on. So, man, Radman, before I end on Brian Flores, just letting you know, like you say, the slogan is, we're telling you what we know, not what we heard. Well, tonight I will be in Orchard Park as the Buffalo Bills are taking on the Carolina Panthers. You better believe I'm going to get an exclusive with Robert Hunt, former guard for the Miami Dolphins, who was there for the whole tenure of Coach Flores. So we got more coming on this story.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to you asking him that after the game today, a day game, a 1 o'clock game today out there at the stadium. So I know you'll be leaving not too soon after the show today to head out to Orchard Park for that contest later on today. But one thing, a last thing point on Brian Flores is he's an excellent defensive coordinator. He knows how to coach. He deserves a second chance. Yes, just like a whole bunch of other people deserve second chances. Some people that don't deserve second chances get 2-3 chances to coach in the National Football League. But if he gets a second chance, I think because he was publicly laundry aired out, I think he will probably watch himself a little bit better and maybe a little bit more supportive of whoever his quarterback is. Because a lot of times you just don't get the chance. And see, that's what happens. Why does a black man gets in there? He can't choose a quarterback. He can't help you in the draft and say, hey, let's go with Herbert over Tua. And then the owner, I mean, that's Ross being Ross, man. That's him down there in Miami, man. He hired him. I give him credit. He hired him. He have a black general manager that's been doing an excellent job of reshaping that team. Excellent job. We've been knowing him and his father. I remember his dad when his father was in the front office of teams in the National Football League. So they got good. They're doing a good job down there rebuilding. But it's a shame that they kind of fell out over this, and that Brian Flores, his coaching style. Everybody can't coach. Players can't play to that coaching style sometimes. But hey, he's proven it in Pittsburgh. He helped with their defense. Yeah, thanks, Mike Tomlin, bringing them up and getting them back in the National Football League. He's in Minnesota currently as a defensive coordinator, doing a decent, good job with the Vikings. So hopefully we wish him best of luck down the road with hopefully landing a NFL coaching a position once again. Who knows? He may get a job down the road because he continues to prove he knows the game. He just got to work on the attitude. He got to work on the attitude to get it going right. Right, J-GILLZ?
Absolutely. I mean, I thought he had a great opportunity, and it's a learning lesson at the end of the day for him. It's a learning lesson. You know, anytime you have one job with one boss for 25 years, you're going to have one way of doing things, you know. So this is his fourth organization, excuse me. So I think that's going to bode well for him in the future. But Radman, if you ask me, I just think it's going to be tough for a guy that's suing the NFL to think for racism. Mind you, we got to understand why he's suing. He's suing the NFL for racism. Right. I don't know if he's going to ever find a job as a head coach in the NFL again.
That's a hard man. If they're not letting Colin Kaepernick come in for just kneeling, man, you're right. That's a hard pill to swallow there. That's going to be quite interesting to see how that transpires down the road and see will Brian Flores get offered an opportunity? Will he get interviewed opportunities, the interview for jobs, and will he land a head coaching job? That's going to be the thing down the road that we're going to keep an eye on. So Brian Flores is on the hot seat. We're going to definitely see what's going on in the Miami Dolphins. Your team, we got to see what the Dolphins are going to be doing. Most teams are resting their starters week 3 of the preseason season. The one team I saw that kind of went all out and played was the Chicago Bears. They seem to be playing at full speed. Caleb Williams looked good out there. Austin Riley, the backup corner, looked good. I mean, a lot of their players look good in the preseason, but let's see when everybody's going, because you can see the Bears were going full speed and the Kansas City Chiefs were like at 3/4 of a speed the other night. And the week before that when the Bears were playing. So let's see the Bears do when everybody's going full speed and see what they got. Ryan Bates on that offensive line playing very well, the former Buffalo Bill, who I thought should have been the Bills center. I don't know why the Bills traded him. They should have kept Ryan Bates as the Buffalo Bills center at that time. I don't know what transpired on that. But we got our guest coming up, our first guest of the day coming up. And they're going to be talking about the HBCU Classic and also some other activity that's going on in the community that's very important in the community. And this guest coming up is brought to you by Challenger Community News, Western New York's largest weekly African-American publication, published weekly. Got a lot of things going on about the 29th Annual Rochester Summer Soul Festival. You're also talking about the Sankofa Theater Festival going on. You got a lot of things going on in the community this weekend. And you know how Rochester is. When they get started, it seems like everybody playing everything for the same Saturday or Sunday. And this Saturday, August 24th, seems to be on everybody's calendar. So there's a lot going on. You got my Challenger article talking about the Bills, giving my grades and who I think going to make the team. That's in this week's Challenger. It's the August 22nd edition. Check us out. We're talking Buffalo Bills. We're talking news that you can use. You got the history section. Madam C.J. Walker, one of the wealthiest Black entrepreneurs ever. Very nice article. Our Black history section should be read every week in the school district and then by everybody in our community. Because remember, leaders read. That's what leaders do. They read. That's what time it is. And now it's time to get into our guests. And I want to welcome to the Real Deal Sports Show. Look like we have him here on camera. We got Rochester Police Department's Justin Collins, and also Greg Bello, who you know, no stranger to everyone. He's on TV all the time. Unfortunately, he's on TV every time talking about some nonsense that's going on in our city, which is very ridiculous. Gentlemen, welcome to Real Deal Sports Show. How you guys doing this morning?
Doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having us.
Great. And how do you guys get connected with doing a football classic with the Frederick Douglass HBCU Football Classic Weekend of Hope? How did you guys decide to really go all in on this project?
Yeah, so this is the brainchild of Deputy Chief Keith Stith, who came up to us from New Jersey a couple years ago, and he started talking about different ways. He was brought up here. He was huge into community relations down there, and so we started discussing different ways. And one of the things that popped up in those discussions was he remembered back in, I believe it was 1979, he went to the HBCU Classic at Yankee Stadium and ended up being a couple police officers that took him and off he went as a teenager. And that was essentially the start of his career as a police officer, was forming those relationships. And so just talking with different friends, talking to different people had been through the HBCU system, and just the Fall Classic is such a community event of bringing people together and bringing it. So it was, what can we do to bring that here? And we started looking around. Started talking to different teams, started talking to different conferences, and looking at stadium situations here. And ultimately, what that led to is we now have the Baldwin Richardson Frederick Douglass HBCU Football Classic coming here to the city of Rochester on September 21st at the Rochester Sports Complex, the old Rhinos soccer stadium over there on Oak Street. Yes, so it's going to be. Yeah, go ahead.
It kind of reminds me, Greg, of the Police Athletic League, the PAL, that I grew up in, and a lot of people in my era grew up in. With the Police Athletic League, you were involved with a lot of sports and a lot of activities in the community. Where my first baseball coach was a police officer, and we played in leagues against other teams that had other police officers as the coaches of their baseball teams as well. and during the Police Athletic League, including my brother Clifton Warren Jones, who was our coach, who was a Buffalo, New York police officer at the time, coaching us during that time period. And we got to know all the officers. And when something happened in our community, they would come in and say, "Oh, hey, how you doing, George? Hey, what's going on? How's everybody all right? Yeah. No, it's down the street. They're down that way. That's what's happening down there. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. And whenever you came through, you guys stopped in, talked, and you were so familiar that we knew you guys. We knew the police officers by name during that time period. Is that something that you guys trying to achieve here in Rochester, New York?
Yeah, absolutely. So, PAL is something that's gone through its ebbs and flows. Unfortunately, COVID killed a lot of different community outreach programs that we had. Everything switched to Zoom, everything switched to online. So even our neighborhood group meetings really sank from what we had beforehand. You'd have attendance of 30 at a neighborhood meeting and then put it on Zoom and you have an attendance of 3, right? So we're trying to figure out different ways we can bring it back. And so this is actually a 3-year contract that we have. So this is the first year, but we've got 2 more games lined up. And it's not just the football game. I know I'm on a sports show, so the football game, we got Central State versus Albany State, 2 premier schools. The football game itself is going to be incredible, right? 2 great schools, but then you also have the Battle of the Bands, the 5th quarter after the game, which all of the I'm slurring my words, but the HBCU schools are known for the Battle of the Bands, right? It's not just a football game. But beyond that day, we've got an entire weekend of events lined up. It's an entire weekend of hope because as we work our way around Rochester and Deputy Chief Stiff, we work our way around the amount of since we've announced this, the amount of people that have told me that they're an HBCU graduate and want to get involved in this and want to help is incredible. And there hasn't been that connection before. And so we're trying to build that connection, bring the HBCUs to a T. Everybody I talk to that's been to an HBCU school will talk endearingly and talk about that best experience of their life and how much they learned and how great they did at that experience as their college experience. But there's no bringing all of those graduates together either. So we even have a mixer of HBCU graduates to get together at the Red Wings Stadium. I believe it's during a Red Wings game, get together and talk about, okay, how can A, get to know each other, but then B, how do we bring our experiences? How do we bring those experiences back to the youth here in Rochester? Not just have our individual efforts, but collective effort. We've got a young ladies luncheon. We've got counselors coming from these schools, admissions counselors, guidance counselors. We've got they're all students, right, that are coming here that can teach our students. So we're partnering with RCSD. We're partnering with the charter schools. We're partnering with all different schools in the area to connect our youth, the students of Rochester, with the HBCU students and the HBCU staff, and then also HBCU alumni. So, ultimately it culminates in a football game, but it's an entire weekend of connecting our community with the Rochester Police Department being that pivot point, that leader in bringing it all together. It's outside of the box for a police department. First time we've ever had something like this here, but we think it's just an incredible idea to bring everybody together. And who doesn't want to watch a football game at the end of September when the weather's perfect, followed by a Battle of the Bands?
Absolutely. And also you have something else, Justin, going on too. You have a recruitment drive going for looking for police officers as well.
Absolutely, George. Thanks again for having us. We're right in the middle of a drive.
And what's taking place? How can people get involved?
So
or register or apply?
How they can register for our police exam is to go to www.cityofrochester.gov/joinrpd. We're really proud of our efforts the last few years. Obviously, it's no secret that law enforcement is down with staffing, and we're down about 100 officers with RPD. But it's not it's across the country. Law enforcement agencies are down across the country with staffing. So we're really trying to come up with innovative ways to recruit and get people in here. Now, I will say that our success we've had the last few years, though it's not the number, George, that we want, we've had 2 of the most diverse classes in the history of the Rochester Police Department, which is pretty awesome. So we're really getting people from across our city, African-American, Hispanic individuals, female, but also people from Nepal. We've had people from Africa. It's really opening the doors for opportunities for young people to join our organization and to learn all about what it's all about to serve the community. So we've had some success, but we're looking to have more success. The deadline for this Rochester Police exam coming up to register is September 4th. So September 4th is the deadline at midnight. And again, they can go to www.cityofrochester.gov/joinrpd. And I'll tell you, the opportunities I think when people think police department, they think police officer and go into calls. And that is a big part of what we do. But there's so much more. In an organization our size, the mobility is incredible. From becoming a detective to working in canine, the bomb squad, the SWAT team, really tons of opportunities. It's not just you're a police officer and that's it. There's abilities to be supervisor. There's just a lot of opportunities. So there's never been a dull day. I've been there for 20 years, and I don't think I've ever had a dull day working in the Rochester Police Department.
J-GILLZ, question you have?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank both of you for your service and making our neighborhood safe. Absolutely. A member of the 19th Ward, so definitely thank you guys there. And just to echo that, a friend of mine just came on the force as well. Graduated with me back in 2011, black man. So the diversity I can echo as well. It's been tremendous, and the growth there at the department has been tremendous. I just want to know what some of the goals that you have. What can the community expect? Just as far as it's been a very violent summer over the last couple of weeks. How can you ensure the community that it's going to be a safe, friendly experience? What's going to be some of that experience like in attendance there? How is the neighborhood going to be safe?
Neighborhood safe in terms of the football game or in terms of neighborhoods in general?
The weekend, with the tailgating, the game in the fifth quarter. It's a long day. It's a long day of friends and family and being together. Just how are we going to ensure safety?
Yeah. So certainly, obviously, we have to make sure big events go off, safely in our community. And at times in history, that has been a struggle. But we've really focused on that. So if you look back at our I don't want to jinx things, right? But if you look back at our festivals this summer and the events that we've had throughout the summer, we've gone above and beyond with some of our operational plans and things along those lines to keep those events safe. So if you notice, like Lilac Fest went off phenomenal this year, 0 issues. Party in the Park went off phenomenal this year, 0 issues. And we're building off a lot of those plans. And so, the nice thing about the police department sponsoring this event is there's going to be police officers everywhere. Not just in a security role, but in a community relations role. And we wear multiple hats a lot of different ways. So this, we've combined with a few security firms. We're going to have security guards work in the stadium, and then you're also going to have police officers and a lot of police officers because, again, we're out there in the community service role as well. So, God forbid we're needed for a security event. You've got an excess of police officers there for that as well. This has been a sad summer of violence. I can sit there and give you stats about how we're at like 40% less violence than last year, which is like 50% less than the following year. But it's still too much, right? Like I can show you stats all day about how low we are relatively to previous years, but those previous years suck too. So I just speak bluntly, those previous years were terrible. So what do we do to fix that? Community relations, such as this. If you go through and you look at our homicides this year, I just announced another murder arrest about an hour ago from one earlier this week. We're solving almost every murder so far this summer. There's something like 85 or 90%. And the way we do that is forming bonds with our community where people are feeling comfortable enough to come talk to us about what they saw or what they heard, or even anonymously, but to help us solve those cases. It's our community coming forward and saying, enough is enough. I trust the police now to work with the police and to give the police this information. I know Greg Bello, and you know what? I know I can trust him, and I'm going to give him information. And that's how we solve these cases. So like even non-fatal shootings, our closure rate used to be about 10%, 5 to 10%. We're looking at around 30 to 35% right now, year to date. And that is building bonds and trust with our community. Those bonds were destroyed 5 years ago, nationwide, Rochester specifically, but nationwide, those bonds were destroyed. And we have done a lot of work to rebuild those. This football game is another example of the work that we've put in to rebuild those bonds. And we're starting to see the fruits of those relationships in terms of violence is working its way down significantly. Still, again, not enough. So I'm not celebrating that by any means. But at the same time, our closure rate, our arrest rate in those is also going up significantly, right? That inverse proportion, which is a win-win on both sides. And again, that's community relations that builds that. When you feel comfortable coming to talk to me, that's how I'm going to solve cases.
Absolutely. And also talking to you on a regular, but not just solving cases, but on a daily basis, just as you're out in the community, being seen in your offices, walking Thurston Road, Genesee Street, Monroe Avenue, walking and talking to the people and events like this. Because it's interesting, J-GILLZ, very good question, because one lady called me, and then another lady, mature women here in the community, just happened to see her out and about, and she said, you know, Joy, I heard you, I listened to your show, and I heard you talking about this event, this HBCU event. I want to go, but I just don't feel safe. And there's a lot of people scared that it didn't hit me until talking with, and it's been more than a few people that mentioned they're concerned about their safety going out to different places. Yeah.
So at the event itself, we're going to have, metal detectors, all that stuff that you would see at, say, one of you guys mentioned you're going to the Bills game today, right? How's the Bills game kept safe, right? Access security at all the gates. There's metal detectors, bag searches, all of that at all the gates. And then there's police officers all over the place. It's going to be a very similar, if not the same setup at this event as well. And we fully expect this game to be this is a family oriented event. Tickets are $25. They're very reasonably priced. We've got a ton of great sponsors that helped us bring those prices down. Baldwin Richardson is a leader in our community and a leader in helping us bring this game to fruition. And this is a family event. We're not going to be letting, roving groups of 50 teens go running around and ruin everybody else's time. That's not what this event is. It's a ticketed event, and that was intentional. We could have made this event free, but then you run into the potential issues of just getting overrun or overwhelmed. And so we're handing out free tickets all over the place. But at the same time, that's the whole point. The goal is that this is a family event. The food trucks are subsidized. You're not going to be paying $20 for a hot dog at the food trucks. They're all subsidized. They're going to be very, very affordable so that you can feed your family when at the game. The biggest cost, it appears, is going to be the ticket price, right? The $25, which again, for two elite teams coming here, Division II football, which we don't have in this area, to watch them battle off with the bands. And it's a tailgate party that's included beforehand that starts at 9 a.m. We got an incredible DJ coming up from New York City. It's going to be a great day of family events, not problem event.
I got another quick question for you gentlemen. You had mentioned Lieutenant Bello, it's a 3-year goal that we have here. This is year 1, it's the inaugural, then we got the 2. What are some other things that, officers are going to be doing in the community, or things that you're already doing that the listener audience may not know, how the force is, involved in the community with the community relations style of, being more partners, with the community versus, that other relationship that people have. What are things?
We just had a great event on Thursday, Project Tips. We were up in Jones Square Park. There was hundreds of people there. It was an incredible event where we brought out the horses, we bring out our scuba truck and things along those lines. But what we also do with that is we bring out all of our partner agencies are there, is state police, the sheriff's office, probation, all our partner agencies, but also our partner agencies in terms of services. Strong Hospital was there. Monroe County Department of Health was there. A bunch of different addiction services, tents and groups were there. We had a DJ playing. It's great community event like that. I think that was the 3rd one of the summer that just brings everybody in. That we target different neighborhoods. So we were at Jones Square Park the other day. A month ago, we were at Flint Street. A month before that, we were over at I mixed it up, International Plaza, and then we were also over on Flint Street. And it just brings the community together to get to just meet and greet with a free cookout with law enforcement and first responders, but then also bring services. The Rec on the Move was there. So there's a football game going on with the kids. And we have all sorts of different events like that are going on in the neighborhoods as well.
Oh,
excellent. We want to thank you both for coming on the show. Justin, one more time, let people know if you have an interest in making a difference in the community, you may want to become a police officer. How can they register and apply for the opportunity?
Absolutely. You can go right to www.cityofrochester.gov/joinrpd. And I'll be the first to tell you, in my career, and I'm sure Captain Bello can tell you the same, it's never been more financially rewarding as well when you're thinking about a family and a career to join the Rochester Police Department. So we're looking for some young people that want to make a difference, make an impact in our community. So I hope they consider RPD and get ready to sign up for this exam.
Excellent. And what's the starting salary now?
The starting, I like to look at the top. But after 44 months, you're making over 6 figures. You're making a little over $103,000 after 44 months. So when I tell you that we've made a tremendous jump And believe you me, our officers earn every penny. They're out there working every day, putting their life on the line for strangers. That's what they're doing, but they're doing an incredible job. But like I said, for a young person considering an opportunity, that's a pretty good deal. And the medical insurance is great. So it's definitely worth signing up just to check it out. But it's been an incredibly great organization to work for me and my family.
Wow. That's a difference from when my brother started back in the late 70s, early 80s.
100%.
Wow.
Yes.
Man.
People don't realize it, but it's definitely grown.
Yes, indeed. And thank you both for coming on Real Deal Sports Show. We look forward to having you both back on again, talking again. And off the bell, Greg, we hope you're talking more instead of negative stuff, have more positive news on the evening news and so forth. Hope we can get those Kia boys and get them off the street. And
man. Anytime you want to talk Bills, let me know.
George, could I say something real quick before we go?
Sure thing, yes.
I just want to say on behalf of me and the captain, go Bills.
Yeah.
All right. Got Bills, man. We get moving right into our Bills segment. Thank you, Justin, for leading us in.
Take care.
You guys take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Great day.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
See you guys.
See ya.
Yes, indeed. As we talk but Bills, we're going to go right into the Buffalo Bills game coming up later today. There's a lot of action. And BacSpin, I'd like to hear what head coach, first of all, what head coach Sean McDermott had to say. And this segment is brought to you by Good Life Collective, 155 Monroe Avenue, Rochester, New York, 585-360-2041. They open 7 days a week. 21, you got to be 21 years of age. It's a dispensary is now open. Legal weed, go to goodlifeweed.com. Goodlifeweed.com. Good Life Collective, 155 Monroe Avenue, Rochester, New York. Check Jamel and the crew out over there. They'll take your excellent service. They'll take care of you definitely. Let's hear what Sean McDermott had to say. How important is it now we're having 16 players that you can have on the practice squad, and especially in your development? It seems like you and your staff have, since you've been in Buffalo, have been very good at developing players. And I noticed this year, it looked like Zach Davis is one of your guys that's developing quite well. How's that? Because when I looked him up, it looked like he's been with the Bills for almost 2 years now, and now he's developing into a player that now can play on. It looks like could play on a regular basis, possibly this upcoming season. How important is that expansion of the practice squad?
Well, it is. It's big. You get a chance to use it in different ways. You'll have a set of young players on there that you're really only there for developmental purposes, and then you'll keep some older players on there that you need. Hey, early in the year, if we get an injury, they've got to go in, and so it's changed over the years, the complexion of it, George. Specific to Zach, he's done a phenomenal job. I think Brandon and his staff, did a great job of acquiring Zach 2 years ago, I believe it was. Last year, he blew his knee out. That's one of the reasons why he didn't show up, as you're referring to him showing up this year. And then his work ethic, his everyday energy that he brings to our club, and then the work that he's put in with Coach Flores and that whole tight end group has been impressive.
Yeah, what goes into making a decision when something like that happens, when a player comes with an injury, in his case, blowing out his knee? How do you determine, hey, let's keep this. We see something in this guy. How do you determine, instead of waiving them injured, waived, or whatever the case may be for waiving, but deciding to hold on to a player of that nature?
I mean, we care for all of them. There's just so many things situationally that you go through roster-wise that sometimes you can keep a guy, sometimes you can't. To your point, when a young man shows promise like he did, you try and do your best to hang on to him. Not always able, so it's almost on a case-by-case basis what you can do.
And last question for you. Joe Andreessen, the linebacker from UB, I noticed, I always go back to what Bill Parcells always said about, he was talking about quarterbacks at the time, is 4-year starters, guys that played many reps as possible in college, that seems to transcend over. And then now going back into Joe's case, I noticed at Bryan College, he played, he had in the year there, 1 year at Bryan College, he had 116 tackles in that season. I was like, wow, that's very impressive. And then last year he had 90 at UB. Does it tend that guys who may have played, even though it's at a smaller college, or may not be totally what they call the power conference of college football, guys that get in those reps and for a full 4 years, those guys seem to be able to transcend into the professional football a lot easier than some of these guys that come out early and come into the league.
Well, I think there's a lot in your question and what you're asking there, George. Overall, they're coming out early, not coming out early. I mean, there's a lot going on in college football that I don't even venture to talk about. But at the end of the day, Joe's a football player. He's got instincts. All the numbers that you mentioned, those comes from being a good football player and having the instincts and the desire and the heart and the toughness to go get it. And at the end of the day, no matter if it's football or life in general, that's a lot of what separates people, and Joe's a great example of it.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Next time I'll break it down for you a little shorter question than that whole part. I was trying to get it together too here. I just thought of that a few minutes ago. But yeah, guys, to me, he looks like a player for somebody that can have 116 tackles in a season, no matter what league it is. Hey, they definitely give them a shot and see what they can do.
Right.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
George, if you can find the ball, you can find the ball, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Right. And thank you so much for your time, and look forward to catching you. Good luck this weekend, and look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, great. You too, George.
All right, there you have it from the head coach, Sean McDermott. Hey, I got a little long-winded on that last question there, man. I knew I was going to see if it can, which part of it he was going to answer, and he did a good job, J-GILLZ. But that's interesting how they can keep a guy for 2 years, and we didn't even see him at St. John Fisher last year because he was rehabbing his knee. He blew his knee out last June, so he didn't make it to Fisher last summer.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why, today at the game, probably won't be seeing many people, but we'll be seeing, we'll try and really get this depth on this Bills roster and really see who it is that's going to make the team. I know you already put the article out there on Challenger Community News, who you feel is going to make the team, but today's the last day. It's cast and call. We got to get it done.
And number 84 is Zach Davison, who we talked about. He will be playing today. Keep an eye on Zach Davison. He's sneaky fast because he was getting down the field in training camp on some deep routes. They were running him on deep routes out at St. John Fisher. So watch number 84. He's 6'7". You can't miss him. He's 6'7", and the guy is fast. He got great hands, excellent hands. He does a very good job catching the ball. Trey McKinney, number 83, another tight end. The Bills actually have 5 tight ends that are serviceable. I think 4 of these guys are going to make the team. I think they're going to keep Zach Davison, Quentin Morris, Dalton Kincaid, and Dawson Knox. I think those guys will be kept. Maybe Trey McKinney may move over maybe try to put him on the practice squad, one of those 16 players over there. And then in the White House, Terrell Shavers, Justin Shorter, Xavier Johnson, number 18, Willie Gibson, who covers the Cleveland Browns and Ohio State football that was on the show back in the spring. He mentioned Xavier Johnson as being a guy that he said the Bills could keep an eye on. And now all of a sudden he's starting with the injuries, with Chase Claypool, with his injury-prone self gone. He had to go. He just couldn't even play. He looked good walking around wearing his jersey, but not out there running routes. So they had to let him go. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think he might be a late cut too because he's a veteran, but I just don't see. They got a lot of young talent that I think they could develop with these guys, and guys like Xavier Johnson, you'll see him today. I think he has a chance to make the team as well. So Terrell Shavers, also Justin Shorter. Check these guys out today. They'll be playing most of the game. Ben DiNucci, quarterback and former Dallas Cowboy, former passing leader for the USFL Seattle Sea Dragons this past football season. So he just got through playing football, so he's still in the rhythm of playing the game. So I think he'll look kind of decent out there today because he done played a full season in the USFL with the Seattle Sea Dragons. So he was with the Cowboys. He won a few games with the Dallas Cowboys too. Back when they had injuries, he got in and was able to come in as a backup and win a game for the Cowboys. So I think he has some experience. I like him. I think he might end up sticking on the roster. Anthony Brown just got here on Monday. Don't know what to expect with Anthony Brown, the former Baltimore Raven. You're going to see some hell of a players out there, J-GILLZ.
All right, Leo Collins, Radney, I had the chance to talk to him at the training camp. Man, when those pads came on, he did not look good at all. He looked old. He He looked heavy-footed. You know, the athleticism was gone. I know the name is there, and I know he was on one of the best offensive lines in the last decade with those Dallas Cowboys playing next to Zach Martin, mind you. You know, so I don't know if he still has a lot left in the tank. We'll have to see. I have to see how he looks, but I don't know. He might have to be a casualty this season. Those cuts are coming up. Cuts are coming up. So there's going to be a lot of available talent in these upcoming weeks.
And I wish they would change it back to the way it used to be, where you have 2 cuts. Now you cut everybody at one time. And there's, you don't get this. Some guys get lost in the sauce when you're cutting them at one time. You're cutting like 60, 50 some players at one time. And you're right. Lionel Collins is playing on one leg. That knee or surgery that he had, he just hadn't recovered from that knee surgery. And he looks terrible out there on the offensive line. I definitely don't think he's going to make the roster due to that injury. But 75, Richard Gurridge, keep an eye on Richard Gurridge as we look at the offensive line. David Edwards out there. I think he has a good chance. And also, keep an eye on the center, Cedric Van Pran Granger. Let's see what he can do at center. I don't know if they're going to start him. They may start Alec Anderson in the center position at number 70, Alec Anderson. But definitely keep an eye on number 62, Cedric Van Pran. He's the rookie out of Georgia. He played at Georgia for the last 3-4 years over there. He was the starting center for their national championship team and also their playoff teams the last 2-3 years. So he has a lot of experience in pressure cooking games. I want to see but Sean McDermott doesn't like starting rookies. That's the big thing with Sean McDermott. But I don't like how Connor McGovern is dropping the ball, is getting the ball back to Josh Allen right now. And for them not to be able to have live game on snaps, it doesn't bode well for them in the first game against the Arizona Cardinals coming up. You got to have live action to really get that cement. And Connor McGovern, even in the practices here at St. John Fisher, he was dropped. That ball was touching the grass. The ball was bouncing back to Josh Allen. Josh had to make adjustments on the snaps. You could see him coming even when he was under center. He came out a little slow because you could see they don't have the continuity there. So keeping that Alec Anderson or Pran Granger, I would like to see either one of those guys get a good shot at legitimately because if they become the center, now you can move Connor McGovern back where he's supposed to be at the guard position. Put him back where he belongs. He's a better guard than he is. He hasn't played center since high school, man. Come on. High school, come on, Buffalo. Why did you get rid of Ryan Bates? Ryan Bates was to me, I thought was the heir apparent to Mitch when you finally wasted 2-3 years of Ryan Bates' career, where Ryan Bates should have been the center 2 years ago, and Mitch should have been gone as the center because he was too old and he just not getting it done. You saw what the Kansas City Chiefs did. They got rid of Mitch. They got a rookie guy in there, and now they just made him the highest paid center in the National Football League the other day because they went and got a young guy. Sean McDermott just hang on to these old cats way too long. Get rid of these young guys, man. The older guys, and get these young guys in there. And speaking of young guys, Rochester's own brother Terrell, who still holds all the football records of running backs, scoring, rushing yards at Edison Tech. If you missed it, the Real Deal Sports Show didn't miss it. His son, A.J. Terrell of the Atlanta Falcons, just signed a contract for $81 million with $65 million guaranteed. Yes, $65 million. His grandmother lives right down the street from me here on Woodbine Avenue. $65 million to this young man. Congratulations, A.J. Terrell, making him the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League. Congratulations. So they have a Rochester connection with A.J. Terrell, starting cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons. Congratulations to him. We had his dad on the show a while back last season when he first came out as a rookie, and we talked about it. And now AJ's just excelled that well with the Atlanta Falcons. They think that highly of him to make him the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League with $65 million guaranteed over an $81 million contract. J-GILLZ, what you think of that?
I thought it was well deserved. I'm liking what I'm seeing with the Falcons. I know that's the NFC South, but we got some Falcons listeners too. When I see them trade for Matt Judon, when I see them pay AJ Terrell, sign Justin Simmons, I think this Falcons defense definitely has a chance to be pretty good, if not top 10. When you got that type of coverage back there with Terrell and Justin Simmons, and then you bring in the pressure like a Matthew Judon and those guys, You know, and I look at the offensive side, they've got Kirk Cousins. I think that's a sleeper pick to really make some noise in the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, you know, primetime Kirk ain't it, but on a weekly basis, Kirk Cousins can win you games. We got that crew around him. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They lost Rondale Moore, but they still got some decent pieces. I'm liking the Falcons a lot to take over that division. Tampa Bay is going to be a problem. Carolina Panthers, who I'll be seeing later on today, they won't be a problem at all. The Saints, you know, we'll have to see about that. But I think the Atlanta Falcons definitely can make some noise.
Oh, they definitely can make some noise. In that weak division, they're going to definitely be able to make some noise. I think it's going to be between them and the Saints because I think the Saints, from what I saw last Sunday, they got a lot of good veteran guys. Their defense, Cam Jordan, they done brought in some more defensive guys. The Saints' defense is going to be on point again. So it's going to be interesting to see how that division shakes out. But Atlanta got a good chance. They got the money. You see, they throwing money around like it's nothing, man, down there in the ATL, man. That money flowing out there. Kirk Cousins got a big contract. Now the cornerback got a big contract. Man, they really paying. They paying down there in the ATL. So it should be interesting to see how that transpires. And as we get ready to wrap up the show, closing thoughts, J-GILLZ, on any other sports coming up? Oh, go ahead, J-GILLZ.
You know, I got to shout out the Bayou Barbie, the Chi-Town Barbie. You know what I mean? I got to shout out Angel Reese, first woman in WNBA history, back-to-back 20 rebound games. Man, Teresa Witherspoon, who I had a chance to talk to back in July, hard-nosed coach. We all know she was there for her defense with the Liberty. Angel Reese was on the bench with 3 minutes to go. She had 19 points, right, man, and 20 rebounds. She would have joined only 2 other women in WNBA history with a 20-20 game, and they were losing. They were down 20, so I get it, but come on, Teresa Witherspoon, you have to give Angel that opportunity. What does Angel do? She backs it up with another 20-point game, 13 points, and, man, narrowly lost to the Connecticut Sun, who was the first place in the Eastern Conference right now for the WNBA. They should have won that game. A bad call on Shanity Carter at the end of the game. But, man, they rallied back from down 10. They really could have beat the number 1 team, the Connecticut Sun, right now. And I think that, man, this Chicago team has a lot to prove. I think Angel Reese is the Rookie of the Year. Definitely should be the Rookie of the Year. I love Caitlin. Caitlin got 2 number 1 picks on her team. Angel Reese is right here doing it with nobody. You got to give her credit.
Yo, you got to. She's balling big time. So check out the WNBA. And you are a WNBA man here on the show. You always keep us up to breast of what's happening. And I also want to give a quick dedicate this show to a guy that I really admired most of my life, and that's Al Attles. Al Attles passed away earlier this week. He was the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. BacSpin, this guy played. He played in that game when Will Chamberlain scored 100 points. He was on that team. He was on the Philadelphia Warriors. He scored 70. He said, I did score 17, y'all. He said, I did get off as much as I can, even though we were feeding. He said he done played in some great games. And then he coached in great games when the Warriors defeated the Washington Bullets for the championship. When Rick Barry was going off scoring and they couldn't stop, the Bullets didn't have an answer for him. Mike Weirden got disgusted and punched Rick Barry in the face. And then he turned around and clotheslined him and punched him and kneed him down on the floor. Al Attles cleared the benches. Al Attles ran out there and grabbed Mike Weirden and beat his behind with an uppercut, a right hook, laid Mike Weirden out. All Mike Weirden could do was hold on to Al Attles' tie as he took that beat down from Al Attles. That's the head coach. That was back when fighting was legal and everything in the NBA back in the day. Every week it used to be a fight in the NBA. But Al Attles, after the game, they said, why'd you leave the bench? Why'd you? He said, I wasn't going to let Mike Weirden, who was one of the known enforcers, for every team had an enforcer back then, but he wasn't going to let Al Attles, he wasn't going to let his star player, Rick Barry, get injured and be hurt because of a man's pride. The man was getting shown up. I mean, Rick Barry had dropped 50 on him the night before in game 2, game 3, game 4. And then with Weirden out of there, Rick Barry went off the next game, and the Golden State Warriors won that championship. And one other thing about Al Attles, he's been with the Philadelphia and the San Francisco, which is now known the Golden State Warriors. They were the Philadelphia Warriors when he started with the team in 1960, and he was with the team as he's been employed by them since 1960, J-GILLZ. That man's been with them. He's the longest employed player in the history of the National Basketball Association for over 65 years. This man worked and collected a paycheck for one team. That just shows you the class act. The man was such a class guy, good man, good community guy, always gave his time. I remember he came through Rochester they were doing a clinic, and it was great to see him. And the man he's such a great man. Look him up, kids. Look up Al Adams. Grown-ups, look up Al Adams and show your kids what a great black man has been. Al Adams passed away a couple of days ago. We dedicate Real Deal Sports Show to the life of Al Adams. Such a great man, such a charitable man, and also to be in on all those historic moments of the Roots playing right there for 100 points game, and also winning the championship as a head coach as well. Just a great man. BacSpin, welcome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Real Deal Sports Show.
You remember Al Adams?
I do not. I do not.
Just a little bit before your era.
Yeah, must be. I do not, but I love the history lesson you just gave us right there. So, yeah, I'm saying, yeah, it sounds like a great man and a big loss to the community, you know?
Yes, indeed. And the work for
shout out to everybody out there.
65 years.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a career right there. That's definitely longevity, and that we all can aspire to. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yes,
and catch us next week. Remember to subscribe. Do the whole 9 yards on YouTube, to the Facebook page, but on YouTube, subscribe and like the show. We thank you very much for your new subscribers to the show. Continue to subscribe. We appreciate it, everybody.
No doubt. Keep it where you need it. Real Deal Sports Show every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. right here on the Beat 105.5. Coming up, it's the Back in Time. Make sure y'all don't go nowhere. Rochester's home for hip hop and R&B. We ought to Beat 105.5.